special meeting of the Plan Commission, Wednesday, June 22nd, 2022. Please rise and start with the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roger, would you please take roll?
Yes, sir. Mr. Franz?
Present.
Ms. Grabanowski?
Present.
Mr. Jones?
Present.
Ms. Walker?
Present.
Mr. Lake? Mr. Hurst?
Present.
Ms. Madrick?
Present.
We do have a quorum.
All right, thank you. Get right to it. Docket number 2022-18 MP, Madeline Squire minor plat, 1567 North 1000 East Sheridan. Petition for a minor plat of 159 acre parcel and 3 residential lots in the rural agricultural districts. I believe you're requesting a continuance.
Staff has indicated that, for the record, Mike Andrioli, 1393 West Oak Street. Staff had indicated that they've needed some additional information. We concur that we owe them that information, and that should be forthcoming, that they simply don't have it to be able to go ahead and sign off on this. So we've had a discussion with the engineering firm specifically about what's needed. We feel confident now that I think we're going to move forward, be able to get staff what they need so they can sign off. So respectfully, we'd like it heard at your July meeting, whichever meeting. I don't believe this is going to take very long once we get the issues with staff resolved.
Okay, all right, thank you. So we have a request for a continuance to the July 18th meeting. Is there a motion to do so?
I move that we continue it to the July 18th meeting.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed by nay.
Thank you.
Continuance granted. Thank you. Docket number 2022-22 DP, Altum's Garden Center, 795 South US Highway 421, Zionsville. Petition for development plan approval of the garden center to be located in the portion of a 7 acre in the rural I2 industrial zoning district and within the rural MRO Michigan Road Overlay Zoning District. Roger, are you handling this for the? Yes, sir. Okay.
The petitioner did file a letter requesting a continuance from tonight's meeting to the July 18th meeting. The reasons being there are some items that do need to be submitted for staff review, but additionally, this petition is also requesting some use variances from the BZA, and those have not been heard yet. So it is our preferred practice to have the BZA issues addressed and resolved before bringing it to the Planning Commission for consideration.
All right, so there's a request for continuance to the July 18th meeting. Is there a motion to do so?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed by nay. Continuance is granted. Docket number 2021-71 DP, Silverthorne Homes, Union Woodlands, 11281 and 11589 East 200 South, Zionsville. Petition for development plan approval for the development of a 160.92 plus minus acre site to accommodate 179 single family residences with ponds, associated infrastructures, and a park in the rural R3, rural single family and 2 family residential and agricultural AG zoning district. Petitioner, please present. State your name and address and
Good evening, Plan Commission. For the record, Sean Downey, Silverthorne Homes, office located at 9225 Harrison Park Court, Indianapolis, Indiana, 46216. As President Franz outlined, before you is our development plan petition for Union Woodlands. We've been before you here for a few months. Our last formal presentation in April, the request was on your part for a continuance for us to engage with Trico for some options for sanitary sewer serving the site. In the last several weeks, we've met with them a number of times, and we have come up with an alternative solution. It's presented in the plans that was submitted to staff and all of you, basically proposing a lift station in our southern cul-de-sac, which will have a force main that dumps into an existing gravity sewer in the Brookhaven development. That sewer exists today. It has easement rights. The manhole we would tie into is on the boundary of the Brookhaven development. So we aren't really going into that development. We would just be connecting to that. We feel with working with Trico and all the other concessions and changes we've made with dry detention, with some of the changes we have made for this development, we're hopeful this now meets, I guess, your approval and blessing this evening. So.
All right, thank you. Public, somebody promote, like speak, please state your name and address.
Good evening, my name is Teresa Borman. I live at 2714 South, 1200 East, Zionsville, Indiana. And I've lived here for over 30 years. I'm voicing my concerns over the Union Woodland subdivision. I do appreciate the developer working with Trico Sewer Company to implement a plan that does not include the condemnation of private property. And I'm very hopeful that this new design will result in just that. However, I am concerned that the submitted documentation, which is an email from Ryan Hartman to the Plan Commission dated June 14th, that is not very definitive and leaves a large amount of room for Trico to continue to pursue the sewer route that requires condemnation of private property. Mr. Hartman states that Trico has accepted the request for the temporary lift station. Our question is, what is the intent meaning of the word temporary? Is it temporary until they complete X number of houses in the subdivision and they revert back to the original design, or with lift station to service the entire subdivision of 779 homes? Does temporary mean that they only use the lift station design until they can complete the condemnation of private property outside the Plan Commission process and they don't have to go through the Plan Commission anymore? The latest Trico Capital and Construction meeting minutes from 6/6/22 states that staff is working with the legal counsel to proceed with easement acquisition. Are they waiting until this is completely finalized before they stop this easement acquisition? But right now their minutes say they're still working it. Okay. Or does temporary mean, as stated in the staff report, until future development and adjacent parcels occurs, which are currently zoned agriculture and would require zoning reapproval? Also, Mr. Hartman states that currently Trico does not expect a full lift station design until we have an approved development plan and construction documents. And my question is, what is the timing for obtaining those approved development plan and construction documents? Is there any possibility of them not approving or getting approval for those plans? Okay, and I don't know what reasons they would have. To me, it's just not very definitive. So I'm here tonight requesting that there's a definitive commitment from Trico and the developer that the proposed lift station plans for sewers for the entire Union Woodland subdivision will be designed that will be used for this development, that condemnation of private property will not be required for this development to occur, and that Trico Sewer Utility halts effort to obtain sewer easements. I'm also requesting that if at any time the plan for sewers is changed to a plan that requires condemnation of private property, that is required that the developer obtain approval from the Zionsville Plan Commission. I also like to take the opportunity tonight to state that I continue to have concerns over the developer's plan for stormwater management. This subdivision will take 160 acres of pervious property, build high density houses, driveways, and roads that reduce the amount of pervious property. The property now drains the stormwater from that acreage into dry pond 3. This dry pond drains into the creek at the southeast corner of the property, which runs through the back of my property. As noted in the letter from Renee Goff, your contractual engineer, dated April 12, 2022, there are no pre-existing calculations provided for the flow leaving the site to the southeast. Therefore, it's not possible to calculate what the increased flow rate will be from this subdivision to the creek. I provided a table that shows what their drainage report shows for what the flow of the creek will be to the creek, and it's really quite high. I also provided some photos taken from my property in early May, which is very typical. I don't think we had any abnormal spring rains this year. And you can see where the creek overflows every spring. So what's going to look like when we do the additional drainage from the subdivision? You know, what's it going to look like on a 10-year or 100-year event? So again, I would like to know what is the increase in flow to the creek from this subdivision? Is it going to increase the flow, the present flow 25%? Is it going to double it? It'd just be nice to know that information. With regards to the stated emergency flood routing, which assumes that the storm sewer is completely clogged, it states that no adjacent homes are flooded by this development. However, how does it impact the creek and surrounding areas further south of the subdivision? The above table I showed you is the flow rates from Dry Pond 3 via a 12-inch pipe, which controls the flow rate from the pond. So it's coming from a 12-inch pipe. The emergency flood routing will be over an 80-foot spillway, which goes, I believe, toward the creek. So again, what will be the flow into the creek during emergency flooding from this subdivision? So I guess, you know, in summary, I'll state again, I would like a definitive commitment from Trico and the developer that the proposed lift station plan is going to be the plan that goes forward, and that Trico will no longer try to obtain sewer easements for this subdivision. And again, if any of the plans for the sewer is changed, that they need to come back to the board. I'm respectfully requesting that developer provides pre-existing calculations of the water flow, so we know what the impact of this subdivision is to the creek, and that they provide the calculations of the flow of water into the creek in the event of emergency flood occurring. Thank you for your time and consideration tonight. I do appreciate it.
Is there anybody else who'd like to speak? All right, Roger, I'll take staff report at this time.
Thank you. As stated earlier, this project has been presented to the Planning Commission at previous meetings, and just to quickly review, the petition is for development plan approval involving approximately 161 acres to accommodate 179 single-family residences with ponds and related infrastructure, a park area. The primary discussion at the last Planning Commission, which was mentioned in the petitioner's presentation, focused on the development or the securing of availability for sanitary sewer. Planning Commission charged the petitioner to go back and study that to see what solution could be provided. They have returned with the proposal with Trico to establish a force main connecting the proposed subdivision to the existing subdivision to the south. As it's designed, as our engineering staff has confirmed to me, it would be, the proposed force main would be sufficient to accommodate and provide services for the entire 179 single family residential subdivision that's being proposed. Trico does mention that this is viewed as a temporary solution. Now, what the definition of temporary is, staff would like to know that a little bit better. Maybe the petitioner can add some color there. There are some other questions that staff has, such as for this lift station, we don't have a definitive site plan as to where in this, while it is a defined area, we don't know specifically where it would be located. Would it be screened in any manner, because it would be flanked on both sides by single family residences? This is possibly a concern because of the appearance, possible aromas from it, that we just know that there would be complaints down the road coming into town hall as to what can you do about this. So that there are some unknowns to the proposed solution. They are not huge items, but we would still like to know, how's it going to be landscaped? How will it be screened? Where would it be located? But it does satisfy the request that Planning Commission charged the petitioner with to find a way to solve this problem. So with that, staff is supportive of the requested development plan approval. I'll be glad to answer any questions you might have.
The drainage that she talks about, there's no mention of it in the engineer's report. Can you comment on that?
Unfortunately, not being an engineer, I don't have much to say other than the comment letter. I don't believe it addresses it in great detail. And I'll take this opportunity to correct my earlier statement. Staff is supportive, presuming that all the items within the engineer's letter be addressed prior to any permits being issued. Now, specifically toward the drainage, I'm sorry, I don't have anything that I can add other than what is in the letter.
Roger, just quick question. Because we've had different groups come before us and ask for relief from the Zionsville stormwater management plan and practices, for lack of a better term. And one of my understandings of that at the core of it is that no additional or no new development will, so where do I want to have a increase the flow off the property than what already exists. That's kind of embedded in our plan. So when Ms. Borman makes the comment that there isn't really a plan for or a study of what the existing flow off the property is that a legitimate statement?
Coming back to your initial statement about, you referenced this requirement essentially being within our stormwater or our code. As I understand it, that is actually a state statute that flow rates off of new development cannot exceed what is in place currently. So we can't adversely impact adjacent properties. And again, I believe that is from Indiana code, not solely Zionsville requirement.
Okay.
So with that, I will say that our stormwater section, along with our engineers, they have reviewed through this project multiple times. And as they have not raised issue with this, I don't feel I'm in a position to step over them, as they are the professionals in that area. Again, I must defer to their evaluation of the project.
Are we confident that they've reviewed it at that level? Because like you said, there's no commentary in what I would say exhibit 7 one way or the other about it. That, or if there's nothing to comment on, they don't include anything in the report.
Borman. What's the date of the letter you're referring to?
It's dated April 12th, 2022, and she did state that there's no pre-development calculation. She also states that if the peak spillway discharge of 380 CFS exceeds existing conditions, the condition of this channel to convey this flow has to be blah, blah, blah. And then she said that petitioners said that they will only approach 380 CFS for extremely large storm events. Okay. So what she's saying, if I read this correctly, if the 300 exceeds existing conditions, and I don't know where it ever says it exceeds existing conditions. I don't know what the existing conditions are. And that's what I think that's my biggest concern is that nowhere in here have they ever given us existing conditions.
All right. The letter that we have is dated June 15th, 2022.
Okay.
And that issue
Maybe.
appears to have been resolved because
Okay.
it's not listed. Would you like to comment towards that if you have anything to say?
In regards to the drainage, take it for what it's worth as a petitioner, but as an engineer, our priority number one when we do drainage design is making sure release rates meet the local ordinances. as Roger indicated, for us, we're looking at a 10-year drainage storm and a 100-year. You're evaluating what the conditions are today before anything is built. And then you're assuring that when you're done and you've designed all your ponds and your outlet control structures are designed, in this case, a 12-inch pipe, that you're below those pre-existing conditions. So without having the drainage report right in front of me, I'm confident that we've addressed that, because that's usually comment number one when it comes to drainage. So.
And I would agree that in these letters, if there's issues about the drainage, they're typically front and center. So I'm assuming that that's been resolved to the satisfaction of the town's engineers.
If I can just also clarify that the sequencing of review letters is that petitioner will submit materials for TAC review. That generates the first letter of review. That letter is then provided back to petitioners. They respond to that. It somewhat becomes cyclical. And as items are appropriately addressed, they are dropped off of review letters. And so, yeah, no, that's fine. And so, again, the letter that you're referencing predates the most recent one. And because it is no longer included in the current letter, again, I'm trusting our other staff's review that item has been adequately addressed and removed from the letter.
All right. I want to make a comment regarding the utilities. To be perfectly honest, we requested of the petitioner to work with TRICO to, mitigate any issues relative to condemning lands, trying to find an alternative solution that would work. I appreciate your efforts. And I also acknowledge that, to be perfectly honest, it's probably outside of our purview for us to control. So we do appreciate the fact that you took the time to make that effort. But again, this is something that's out of our control. And we cannot, if you're asking for us to approve a condemnation plan out of our control, can't do it. So once again, I feel for you, but I do appreciate your efforts to try to, resolve this in a way that minimizes that.
Thank you.
So, any other questions, comments?
Well, just when it comes to calling this a temporary solution, at the core of this is an issue that the Boone County approved this site for residential development prior to it being under our jurisdiction. Secondly, they approved it prior to the airport kind of announcing their plan as to areas that they wanted to have development in and not have development in. So I guess, and what I'm thankfully there's a part of the plan in here regarding what the airport plan is. And we have not actually fully accepted and approved the airport plan yet, correct?
No, the airport plan use study has been adopted by the town council.
Has it? Okay.
It was, I believe, in January or February. Okay. And so it is considered a part of the comprehensive plan.
Okay. So then when it comes to this area, as far as future real estate residential development outside of this parcel, most likely that's going to be dissuaded.
That's correct.
Okay. So I guess my point where I'm grinding away at is to get back to, why does TRICO need to consider this a temporary solution?
I would assume, based upon the assumption that we would go outside the comprehensive or the airport comprehensive study and approve something. I'm assuming that's why they're calling it temporary. Go ahead.
If I may also add, we need to make sure we don't limit our view of possible development in this area to exclusively single-family residential. There may be, and got to think out of the box here a little bit, there may be other development opportunities that could happen on adjacent parcels. And if that would happen, that then may warrant the temporary solution to be revised to a more permanent situation like they were looking at. There would be many hurdles in that process. But the old phrase, never say never.
And this, if you recall, this is the property that the town requested us to downzone. But it was,
Yeah, I
it was
understand.
filed prior to, so we have to honor the zoning and the ordinances associated with that property, so. Any other comments, questions? If not, is there a motion on this matter?
All right, I move that docket number 2021-71 DP Development Plan Petition for the development of a 160.92 plus or minus acre site to accommodate 179 single-family residences with dry detention ponds, associated infrastructure, and a park in the rural R3, rural single-family and two-family residential and agricultural AG zoning district be approved as presented with conditions as noted in the staff report and subject to resolution to engineering comments and based upon the findings of fact.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Roger, would you take a roll, please?
For the record, I will not ask for Mr. Hurst's vote as he was not here for the initial public hearing.
Correct.
Ms. Walker,
Aye.
Mr. Franz,
Aye.
Rabanowski,
Aye.
Ms. Madrick,
Aye.
Mr. Jones.
Aye.
Motion's approved. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you. Finally, right? Next on the docket. Next on the docket is 2021-21 DP Scannell Properties LLC FedEx Parking Expansion 10301 Bennett Parkway, Zionsville. Petition for development plan approval of a parking lot expansion for tractor trailers, van, and automobile parking on a 15-acre site in the urban general industrial I2 district. Petitioner present. Name, address, and please proceed.
For the record, Justin Alashik, Scannell Properties, 8801 River Crossing Boulevard in Indianapolis. I prepared a PowerPoint if I can bring it up, just to kind of supplement some of the information. All right, so again, we are presenting project is a parking expansion at the existing FedEx facility off of Bennett Parkway. This is just a brief overview of Scannell Properties, developer all over the country, locally based in Indianapolis, founded in 1990. General project location, I've identified the existing FedEx facility off of Bennett Parkway, and then the red boxes are where we are proposing parking lot expansions. Here's just a brief overall site plan of the proposed project. The larger parking area will primarily be trailer parking stalls, with the long skinny piece being van delivery vehicles, and the final box being additional pedestrian parking. So the development is going to be on about 28.59 acres, with roughly 15 acres being impacted, consisting of asphalt and concrete paving, as well as fence installation to maintain current security measures. Stormwater infrastructure will be added to detain the increased runoff volume generated by the impervious improvements. We'll be adding 224 standard parking stalls, 33 tractor parking stalls, 96 delivery van parking stalls, and 185 trailer parking stalls with this project. Access to the project site will occur within the existing FedEx ground facility. There'll be no new access points added as part of this project. These two parcels which we'll be developing are kind of landlocked parcels that were left over from the initial FedEx development. So there's no opportunity to provide additional access to the right of way. In addition, based on discussions and coordination with staff, our traffic impact study did note some potential off-site improvements. However, none are proposed at this time due to either it being NDOT proposed, NDOT already has a plan to provide some of the future impact or future off-site improvements recommended in the traffic report, and others such as the intersection of Bennett and 106th. Engineering staff has a different plan for the future of that intersection and didn't want to just arbitrarily add a right turn lane and widen that intersection if an additional improvement is going to be proposed in the future. So just a quick overview of the stormwater and drainage. At the south end of this property, I'm going to consider it south end, but it's on the right side of this page. This is a rotated view. That's where we'll be constructing our new wet ponds. It'll be located at the far south side of the property, and all new impervious areas will be discharged to this new wet pond first. From there, it will route through existing infrastructure on sites, eventually discharging to the north into Cemetery Creek. So again, kind of summarizing what I said, ultimate discharge point will be Cemetery Creek. As far as the stormwater runoff goes, it'll first be handled by the wet detention basin, and some constructed wetlands will be providing in the new wet detention ponds. And then from there, it will go through the existing detention facilities. So this stormwater will actually be treated by 5 separate stormwater quality measures before discharging into Cemetery Creek, which far exceeds the town requirements for water quality standards. Proposed release rates will meet both the town of Zionsville technical standards as well as the allowable releases into Cemetery Creek established with the original project. And to the right of this page, you can note the existing and proposed release rates. But again, they all meet town requirements. As far as the landscape plan goes, I know it's difficult to look at this scale, but as of the latest letter we received on 6/15 from the contractual engineer, there were no further comments on our landscape plan. So from our perspective, this is an approved landscape plan. And then same thing with the photometrics. As noted on the 6/15 contractual engineer comment letter, the photometric plan meets town requirements in relation to light levels at the property lines due to or required by the adjacent zonings. Thank you for taking the time to hear our presentation.
All right, thank you. Is there anybody in the public who'd like to comment on this matter? I do have a question. Do you notice with first class mail or registered mail? Do you know?
Our engineer is here. He can answer that question better than I can.
Caleb Sonograph, Kimley Horn, 250 East 96th Street, Indianapolis. Oh, sorry, what was your question?
Did you notice with first class mail or registered mail?
First class, the one with the green cards.
No, that's registered.
Is that registered? Yeah.
Okay, you're fine.
Okay.
If you did first class, we'd have to approve it, so.
Yeah, whatever the, sorry.
All right,
Yeah.
okay. All right, there's no comments. Roger, staff report, please.
I think the petitioner did a good job explaining the project. They're proposing two new parking lots for tractors, trailers, and employee parking. There was some comments in the staff report that I just want to elaborate on. There are no off-site improvements at this time based on an updated traffic study, and our town engineers are fine with not having any improvements made. Also, there was a note that to address all the comments in the exhibit 5, and that should be referenced to June 15th and not May 5th. Staff is favor of this request. I'm happy to answer any other questions you may have.
All right, thank you. Anybody, questions, comments?
I just want to make sure. So they did reach out to all the adjoining property owners. I want to make sure the sanitary treatment facility isn't concerned about any excessive noise or odors coming off this operation. Sorry.
All right. Brought some levity tonight.
No comment.
Anybody else, question, comments? If there are none, is there a motion?
I move that petition 2022-21-DP development plan petition for the development of 538 space parking area on 15 plus or minus acre site within the urban general industrial I2 zoning district be approved as presented with conditions as noted in the staff report and exhibit 5 and exhibit 6 and based upon the findings of fact.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Roger, would you please take roll?
Sir. Mr. Hurst,
Aye.
Ms. Walker,
Aye.
Mr. Franz,
Aye.
Ms. Brabanowski,
Aye.
Ms. Madrick,
Aye.
Mr. Jones.
Aye.
Petition's approved. Thank you very much. That's in the business tonight. Is there any other business, Roger? Yes, sir. All right. Anybody else? Is there a motion to adjourn? Second? All in favor?
Aye.
We're
We need to sign another thing for that. Jim, what do you think about having 532 more trucks coming?